Last year, Cabby Fingers and I started our work together on the Sign with Fingers Big and Small campaign in partnership with National Deaf Children's Society. Cabby Dermot Fingers are made when everyone comes together. But for many people, these moments can be quite isolating as we find ourselves trying to piece bits of the conversation together. We set out to get people learning British Sign Language with everyday phrases so more of us can feel included in the conversation. And just like that, the campaign created awareness of my superpower. I am so excited to announce that this year I get to continue the partnership with Cabby Fingers as they have come on board to help me launch the first ever series of Superpowers with Tasha. Together, we want more people to share their own superpowers so more of us can feel included. As well as providing the best studio snack for me and my guests, getting to work with Cabby Fingers again means we will be reminding you regularly to keep learning a little BSL via the Sign with Fingers hub. You can even learn, would you like a snack? And my answer every time, yes. Head to signwithfingers.cabby.co.uk to start your BSL journey. Hi everyone, welcome back to Superpowers with myself, Tasha Ghouri, and today we've got such an amazing guest. She's beautiful, everyone loves her for her style, she's an absolute queen, and she's one of my favourites on a hit reality TV show, Made in Chelsea. If you haven't watched it, you need to watch it. And, you know, she's such an inspirational person, and yeah, I'm really excited to have her on with me today, and we're going to have a really nice chat and, you know, talk about alopecia and just really everything that you stand for. You know, she's interested in fine art, photography, that's her passion. So yeah, we're going to get to it. So welcome, Liv Bentley, the one and only.
That was such a nice intro. I was sitting there going, I don't think anyone said anything so nice about me. Thank you for having me.
It's all right. I'm glad to have you here. And how are you?
I'm good. I'm very good. How are you?
I'm good. You're looking nice and glowy. I love it.
My skin's like an old leather handbag because I've just been lying in the sun.
Oh God, no, you're actually insanely beautiful. Like when she walked through the door, I was literally like, oh my God, she's so stunning.
Thank you.
I was like, wow. Obviously, you're made in Chelsea and went on in that 2016, right?
God, you know more than me. Honestly, when you said fine art photographer, I was like, I don't think anyone else knows that. Yeah, 2016. When was that, like 7 years ago? Yeah, God.
Yeah, it's been quite a while.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
When I see little clips of me in the beginning, I was like, oh, such a little baby. But yeah, it's been a long time.
How old are you now?
28.
Oh my God, you're still young.
But you know what though? Recently, so many people my age are getting engaged and having babies, and I'm like, am I actually at that age? I don't think I am.
No.
How old are you?
24.
Oh, see, I still think that's like so young. I mean, I'm only 4 years older.
So we're going to start, you know, with alopecia. So can you tell me a little bit more about what alopecia is?
So alopecia, there's a few different types, but it's essentially hair loss. Mine was like little bald patches the size of like a 50p dotted over my head. So I never lost all my hair, and I never lost hair anywhere else, like not my eyelashes or anything. So it was just literally on my head. And I got it. The doctor thinks I got it from the contraceptive pill.
Really?
Yeah, because that was the only thing that changed around the time when my hair fell out. And they were like, oh, what have you been doing? And I was like, oh, well, I did go on the pill recently. And they said, well, 1 in, I think, 500 women suffer with it, which I didn't realise was a side effect. And then, yeah, I sort of had it for the last 5-6 years. Recently, I haven't had it at all, actually, which is good. Like, it's all of it's growing back, apart from where I've bleached it, and that's just broken off. But yeah.
Yeah. So, like, how old were you when you found out?
I was like 15, 16.
Okay, so you kind of got it like an early kind of adulthood.
Yeah.
Adulthood kind of, you know, going through school and stuff. And
oh, it was the worst.
How was it for you?
It was, so when I found out, I was on holiday with my family, and I thought I'd got out the shower and brushed my hair, and I thought I'd like brushed a chunk of my hair out, and so I noticed it at the front of my head, and then it didn't go back, and it took about like a couple months for me to realise what had actually happened. And at the time I was at boarding school, and it was really hard because I was like in the shower and my hair was falling out, and I was like, oh my God, what's going on here? And also I was quite a late developer. Like, I did not get tits until I was about 22.
Yeah.
So I was worried I looked like a boy anyway, and then my hair was falling out. I was like, this is perfect. So it was really hard because also when you're that age, I feel like people only really care about the way you look. No one gives a shit about your personality. And so I did find it really hard. And then like all my mates had like long blonde hair and all this stuff, and I was like, oh God, not me.
So I feel like especially in school, you're kind of trying to figure out who you are as a person as well, and like because that was my cochlear implant, I was comparing myself to
everyone else.
Ray. And I think when you're that age, it's hard to not do that.
Yeah, it's really hard. And also, I was at a co-ed school, so I don't know if I'd been at all girls, I don't know if it would have been different or not. But like having boys there was sort of, I don't know, you suddenly hit 15, 16, and then everything changes. It is all about like finding your first boyfriend, like all that sort of stuff. And so, yeah, I was actually really insecure about it.
Yeah.
But it's weird because I didn't really think it was bad. And then when I joined Chelsea and people were commenting, I was like, oh, maybe it actually is bad then. It's weird.
But people were commenting on...
Well, I just get like people replying to like sending me Instagrams being like, oh, grow some hair, you bitch, and like, oh, you bald bitch and stuff like this. And it's weird because sometimes I see clips of when I started and I don't think my hair looked bad. I think it's just because I had really short hair. And so it was odd. And then that made me even more insecure because then being on TV and people just like, all people comment on is the way you look. And it was just like, at age 20, that was really like hard.
That's crazy. Like, I completely get what you mean. Even when I was on the show, I was literally getting comments about my cochlear implant and the way I speak. It was like, trolls are just,
savages.
Yeah, they literally can be so savage. And that's a problem with like going on a reality TV show. You're
opening yourself up
to that kind of world. And I think, if anything, that makes you so brave to even be on a show. And you spoke about it on the show as well.
Yeah.
I remember that little clip, that scene when you spoke about it.
Wearing Wigby.
Yeah.
That poor wig. Yeah, weirdly, once I did that, it made it a lot better. And then it didn't bum me out as much. Mm. But up until that point, yeah, because then I, started wearing wigs and extensions and doing all the like worst things for your hair. And the reason I used to bleach my hair so much is because the lighter it is, the less obvious the bald bits were. Whereas like because I'm actually naturally quite dark, so when I have dark hair, you can see how thin it really is. But no, when I spoke about it on the show, I had the like response from so many people was unbelievable, and like loads of young girls were saying, "Oh, I'm suffering with the same thing," and how did you get through like all this stuff? And yeah, it was actually really nice. Well, I'm actually really glad I did speak about it.
Yeah, I think it helps other people with their experiences as well, especially like younger generation. It gives like you're a role model to those people. I think that's incredible because, people need someone to look up to that's going through similar experiences. And that's why this is why I'm doing this podcast, is to have people like you to talk about your experiences and to share that so that these people can watch this and take something from it. And, I didn't really know much about alopecia until, I'll be honest, when I watched you on the show and I was like, wow.
Can I be honest? I didn't know, honestly, when I first had it, I didn't even know what alopecia was, which is why I thought it was so weird. I think more and more people are talking about it now because it's a lot more common. And I think there's stuff to do with like long COVID and women losing their hair and like a lot of hair loss. When I first started talking about it, it wasn't like a common thing at all.
Yeah.
But it's weird how many people do suffer with it. And I think now as well, the stress that young people go through, that obviously is like the one thing to go for girls is your hair. Yeah,
for sure. And I think, did you struggle with like your identity then when you were younger?
I think I went from basically being like a tomboy to then bleaching my hair blonde and growing a pair of boobs. So I was like, and I am a bit of a tomboy. I'm more of like a country farm kind of girl, not like I'm not like a makeup. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it was. I don't know. I didn't really, did I struggle with identity? No, I just felt super ugly, to be honest. Like, I thought I was Butters.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you now.
No, but I really did. And I was like, I don't think anyone's going to fancy me.
Yeah.
Weird.
No, like, did you have, like, support back then as well?
Yeah. My mum was, like, really good and she super sweet and everyone. I never really told anyone about it, though, actually. Like, none of my mates at school knew. And then on Chelsea, no one knew either. They just thought, and then I just started wearing wigs, and I think everyone just assumed it's because I wanted longer hair, which I did, to be fair, but it was more to like cover up the shit hair underneath, or lack of.
So like, is there medication for alopecia?
With mine, basically, I found out I had alopecia. My mum then took me to Philip Kingsley, which is I never say the word right, someone who looks after people who lose their hair. I can never say the word. And they do all these amazing treatments. But at the time, I had left boarding school and was going to a school in London, and I was 16, and sounds bad, I was too lazy to go to the appointments, and I didn't want to go by myself. And so I sort of sacked off going. And so I didn't do anything to help it. Whereas if I had stuck to those treatments, it probably could have helped. But there's loads of different things, like you can get these injections. I can't even think. I've never actually had anything. I've never done anything about mine.
Yeah, is that just because with your
I don't know
personal
why.
choice, or is that just because you're just...
I think I didn't want to admit that it was like an issue.
Yeah.
And so then I would
of
just like
course.
wear beanies and all that stuff. And I sort of just like let it be, I
Yeah.
suppose. But luckily mine wasn't. I mean, some people lose all their hair. Yeah, I don't know. I feel
Yeah.
pathetic when I talk about mine because I mean, mine really wasn't that bad.
Yeah, but you
Okay.
shouldn't feel pathetic at all. Like, you know, no matter, like, it's not about, you know, how big it is.
Yeah,
like, you
that's
still
true.
went through the struggles and you still had to get through that. And it's not easy. And I can imagine it wasn't easy for you as well. And, like, you're sat here being so open. Like, I just want to say thank you for being so open. Like, but I just think it's so great that, you know, to go on a reality TV show, to even just talk about it, that's bravery.
Oh, thank you.
Like, to even just talk about it for like 2 minutes or something, that's...
I think more and more people should talk about their stuff. I worry. I think reality TV shows this perception of a load of people who look fat, like amazing and all this stuff, when actually behind all that, there's so much more stuff that goes on. And like, this is the one thing with Chelsea, I noticed that everyone basically thinks we're just a load of stuck-up snobs who sit around in coffee shops chatting rubbish. But actually, everyone has gone through loads of their own stuff. And I think it's good that reality, like, to talk about stuff like this.
Yeah, 100%.
Because also, I think it just makes it all a bit more human.
Yeah, I think people forget that we are human.
Yeah.
Like, we all go through struggles in life. We're not just TV personalities that, you know, just go on to, like, we have a life.
Swan about in a bikini, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Great life, yeah.
Definitely was not easy, I'm telling you that.
Did you get badly trolled?
Yeah, I did.
Did you find it hard?
I think 'cause obviously when it's a bit different, so when you're on show, obviously we don't have our phones.
Yeah.
So we don't see it until we get out.
And then you get it all in one go.
Kind of, but I think for me, I had it really bad at the start. Towards the end, it kind of flipped quite a lot. With the, like, it came more positive towards the end.
Oh, that's good.
But I think the hardest thing for me was ableism. Definitely, it was kind of like people saying, "I rip her hearing aid out, throw it in the pool," or people making
What?
people making
You're fucking
TikToks,
joking.
taking a mick out how I speak. Like, it was bad.
Sorry, so are you like partially deaf? Sorry if I'm
No,
not
it's
clear.
like fully deaf in both ears.
You're fully deaf in both
Both.
ears.
Yeah, and I wear a cochlear implant on my
Right.
right ear. So it's like a external part, and it makes me basically hear.
And people said they were going to rip it out your head and put it in a swimming pool.
Yeah, like people were.
That is just... I'm laughing because that is
Yeah, I know.
savage. What the fuck?
I just got to laugh it off, and I think coming out, it's just kind of like I had to brush it off, and it's just like, you know what, I'm going to be the bigger person, and
Yeah.
not even address it because I want to. I'm like, that motivates me to do better. And
Yeah.
I suppose that you probably feel the same when you get those kind
I
of
just think
trolls.
people are so fucking cruel. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I get it. Say I'd like had a load of work done and people would like trolling me for that. Fuck it. But like, if you've got something that's like you can't help, and it's like you even put yourself in a position to like, there's something wrong with people.
I know, it honestly is, and I just think, yeah. So coming out, it's literally like, oh, okay, but you know what, I just had to.
That must be so hard though. The first day you come out and you get your phone back.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Really?
Yeah, it was a lot.
I couldn't imagine that. See, luckily for shows like Chelsea, it's like a slow burner. So like, and you sort of like are eased into it.
Yeah.
And it's not like, yeah, God, I honestly, it's brave of you to do it. I don't think I'd have the mental capacity.
We got through it, didn't we, guys? So with alopecia, and you know, you go to events and you go to maybe like parties and stuff, and how did you deal with, you know, like, did you struggle with the confidence of going, and was there any kind of examples of how you dealt with it back then?
I think back then when it was, well, pre Made in Chelsea, because then when I then started wearing wigs, I wasn't so worried. But there was a time when I was like 17 and I had this boyfriend, and weirdly I bumped into this guy the other day and he was like, I can't believe I said that. But we were having conversations when we were together, and he was like, oh, I wouldn't marry you because our kids would be bald. And I'm going, dumped. No, I was really upset actually. And it was like, I suddenly was like, oh my God, I don't know. He obviously didn't say, I don't think he would have meant it, but the way at 16 or at 17 or whatever, I was suddenly like, oh my God. And it honestly made me feel horrendous. I thought, oh my God, someone wouldn't marry me because there's a chance our kids could be bald. Like it was awful actually. But then when I saw him recently, which was like, 5 years on, he was like, I can't believe I ever said that. Anyway, it was really sweet. But yeah, that was like, I found that I cried because I was like, that's such a sort of savage thing. And then going to like events and stuff, I think I just wore a lot of wigs. And weirdly, it's so interesting. People didn't realise they were wigs. I think everyone just thought I suddenly had my hair tied up for 3 years at Chelsea and then took it down and had this long hair.
Yeah.
But yeah, I sort of, it depends. It depends how I felt that day. Like if I was like hormonal and feeling insecure, I'd probably put my wig on.
Yeah.
but fuck me, in summer, they are sweaty. I remember filming a scene and I literally had like beads of sweat coming out of this wig, and I was like, just get it off. But yeah.
I can't believe that he said that.
Oh yeah, it was savage. I stood there looking at him thinking.
Like, that must have just like knocked you like.
Yeah, that was bad. I used to take, and I'm trying to think, and to be honest, actually, I never really talk about this. I suffered quite badly with social anxiety pre-Chelsea anyway, so I was like really, like, I wouldn't go out in public. But this is before the show, so it was just like something I must have had. And I don't know if it was because of the alopecia. I remember like I was babysitting these kids once, and one of them was like, "What's that on your head?" And I was like, "It's actually just my head with no hair on it." And so I wouldn't really go out by myself in public. Like my mum would say, "Could you go to the shops and get this?" I'd get in the car, pretend I've gone to the shop but it's closed. I'll go back. I'll go home and say it's closed, and I'd just sit in the car when you get out of it. Yeah. So bizarre. So I had like quite bad. I don't know if it was because I was self-conscious. I don't know. But yeah, it took me a long time to feel like I don't know, at peace with myself, kind of thing. I think. And that's literally in the last 3 years. So bearing in mind I've done Chelsea for 7. So yeah, since I hit like probably 25, I've actually felt not as insecure.
Yeah, so like the way you deal with it now is completely different to how you.
Yeah, back then it was like trying to cover it up and do whatever I could to pretend it almost wasn't there. I'm one of those people who sort of like I'm not good at addressing things. I just like sweep it under the rug or literally hide it under a wig. Whereas now I'm more like, I just don't worry about it. Yeah, I'm not that. I think also I've realised I'm never going to be someone who has got long, luscious locks. It's just not in the cards for me. So it's like the second you realise that, it's more like I'm just going to deal with what with what I've got, kind of thing. Yeah. And it just doesn't bother me.
Yeah. Well, that makes you.
Although my bedhead in the morning is quite something. Look like a fucking bomb's gone off.
I wear tapes, by the way. This is not my actual hair.
I was about to say, is that real?
No, definitely not real.
Great.
I wear tapes, so I'm just putting it out there. This is not.
Tapes are meant to be good, not good for your hair, but they're meant to be better for your hair. Then I think that was the other thing as well, because I get so many messages from girls going, "Oh, I've been told to go and get bonds and all this stuff." I remember once having one put in to see if it would work, rip my hair out in 2 days, and I was like, "There's no way I could have that all in my hair."
Yeah, it's hard with extensions. Like I've definitely have thinner hair now because of extensions. Yeah, because it does thin out your hair quite a bit.
Honestly, Philip Kingsley elasticizer is the dream. You just sleep it in your hair like once a week. But I also, because my hair like won't ever grow longer than it probably is now. Like, and it's probably, I mean, the bleach, does not help, but I'll never have like long hair. So I used to also wear wigs just to have like long hair, just to look different, not just to cover up my hair. Yeah. But no, quite like the short now. It's just easier.
Yeah, the short is like Liv Bentley. It screams you.
Thank you.
When you first got your wig, like your first ever wig, was it like nerve-wracking, or did you feel like empowered? Was it kind of like, how did it feel for you in the moment?
So I remember the first one I ever got was from Lauren Pope's company. I think it's called Hair Rehab London. Anyway, she sent me one and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And at the time, I didn't think there was anything wrong with my hair. I'd wanted one to see what my hair would look like longer. Yeah. And weirdly, I looked back, I had to send her photos of the colour of my hair so she could match it. And I looked at the photo the other day and my hair actually is like horrifically thin and like, yeah, it wasn't good. But I'm trying to think. Yeah, no, I did really like it. I was like, oh my God, I can't go out without it now. And then we were filming a series in Ibiza and I think I'd taken it to the hairdresser to try and dye in Ibiza. Anyway, I left the wig with her, went away to film, came back, and she was like, I'm sorry, I can't give it back to you. I was like, what? She handed me this thing that looked like roadkill, and she basically had like fucked it. And I was like, I was shitting it because I was like trying to call Lauren. I was like, I need another one now. Like, I suddenly panicked that I didn't have my wig. Because then I realised I was like relying on it so much because I thought it made me attractive. And then that's how it sort of started. And then I had like, this girl called Daisy messaged me who does D&Co Weaves, which is an amazing wig company if anyone's looking for one. She's so sweet and their wigs aren't damaging for your hair. They're really good. If you've lost all your hair, they put like, she's got like special rubber ones that will stick and all that sort of stuff. And hers were amazing. Lauren's were also amazing, but these ones are human hair and they, now I've got quite the collection. I got loads now. Red, blonde. Oh, I know.
I can imagine you red hair.
So recently before Christmas I had red hair, and then
that's cool.
Oh my God, dyeing it back to blonde. I went to the hairdresser and I was like, I want to go back blonde. She did like one rinse through. My hair was bright orange and I had to film the next day. I was like, holy shit, this is offensive. Anyway, luckily managed to get it back blonde.
Yeah.
But no, I still do. I haven't actually put one on in so long, but they are a faff to wear though. And in the heat, in winter it's unreal because it's like wearing a woolly hat. In summer, it's sweaty.
Yeah.
And they're heavy as well.
Yeah.
But no, yeah.
Yeah. So did you feel like at the time it was kind of like you said, it was like your shield, wasn't it?
Like it was like I suddenly was like, yeah, and
like
yay, now
armor.
people will fancy me. Now I think when I think about that now, I'm like, was I delusional? What on earth made me think people are going to think I'm fit because I've got long hair?
Yeah.
But then that's the way you are. Like people are like that. They're like, oh.
I get that. Like, do you use like specific like treatment shampoos for your...
I use it. Philip Kingsley is the best thing. If anyone's suffering with anything hair related, use Philip Kingsley. And I just put like treatments in. I try not to wash it.
Yeah.
That's the other thing as well. When I first got it, the amount of everyone says different things. Like everyone's like, go get hair extensions, wash your hair every day, do this, do that, and it was like relentless. Which is why in my head I think I was like, I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah.
The worst thing to do is go and get hair extensions. I learned that one the hard way. And then I just try and I shouldn't really bleach it. It doesn't look great at the moment.
No, it looks gorgeous.
I need to, I'm wearing my gel helmet. I sprayed it down with loads of hairspray. Don't start dyeing. Everything I did that I shouldn't have done, dyeing it, washing it every day, which was a weird one someone said to me. Now I try and wash it once a week. Yeah. And then also putting like overnight treatments, like conditioning treatments, scalp treatments. But yeah, Yeah,
because I heard that you're only supposed to wash your hair like once or twice a week.
Literally.
So I used to wash it every day.
Oh my God, same.
But then someone's like, why are you washing it every day? I'm like, you're not supposed to. I was like, I was supposed to do it. Apparently it's like, if you use shampoo every day or something, it
like dries it out or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's weird. Also, don't go to a hairdresser, go to an actual hair specialist, because that's where I went wrong, was going to a hairdresser and then, yeah.
Yeah. What advice would you give to, people that are struggling with alopecia and hair loss?
I think... this is the worst thing. I remember everyone used to say to me, don't stress about it. Oh, don't tell someone to not stress because then all you do is stress about it. But it's easier said than done. Try not to stress about it as much. Also, it's hair. It's not the end of the world. Like, I honestly think who you are on the inside means so much more than what you look like on the outside. And the older you get, the more you'll start to realise that. And I wish when I was 16, someone said to me, in 5 years' time, no one's going to give a fuck and you're not going to remember it. Yeah. And if people say nasty shit, that's shame on them. Like, it says more about who they are than it does about you. And I think also, like, yeah, I don't know. I think it's hard because there's so much more judgment now out there. But if you are, like, young and struggling with it, it will sort of, I don't know, get easier maybe, or, honestly, the older you get, as time goes on, you'll feel more confident and not, stress about it so much.
Yeah, I mean, when you get older, you just kind of learn more in life naturally anyway. Yeah. I think you're right, because it's like, obviously, when you're younger, it feels like the end of the world. Yeah,
honestly, I wish everything wasn't so surrounding the way you look. Like, honestly, I would stress so long. But even recently, like, I remember... I probably literally in the last 6 months, I wouldn't leave the house without makeup on. I'd be like, oh my God, what if someone sees me? Or like, I used to have eyelash extensions and then I felt like I didn't want to go out without, it's weird. But now I'm like, oh, who gives a fuck?
Yeah, just
like, there's so much more shit going on out there. But no, it is, I don't know, everyone is beautiful in their own way and don't wish to look like someone else.
I just love that you just embrace it now, and I think that's so special, and you're honestly going to inspire so many people, like even people listening to this. Like,
I hope so, not just rambled on swearing and chatting absolute rubbish.
Yeah, but you're just being you, do you know what I mean? Like, you've come in and you're just being yourself, and you're unapologetically yourself, and that's how it should be,
I would just love younger people to feel more confident. I think that's the other thing. When I was younger, I felt so insecure, and to, like, even on the show, if I ever felt like unattractive, I'd put a wig on. I think in my mind I thought I was suddenly attractive if I had long hair. Right. And that was my mentality for so long, which is wrong, because it's not about the way you look. And I think actually I've realised more and more. I used to always say this, the hot when you're at school, all those hot girls, where are they now? When you're always like, I don't know, I think your I've since the hair stuff, I noticed that actually people's personalities make you attractive. It's really not the way you look, and I wish younger people knew that, because I don't think they do. I think they honestly think it's all about the way you dress. Like, it's just so not like that.
I so agree. I always say that personality makes someone 1,000 times hotter. Like, it's so true, and I think especially in school and stuff, like it's always about looks, it's always about who's the most popular, it's always about all these kind of things. And
no one gives a fuck about that in 10 years' time, by the way.
Yeah, no one really does. Like literally, I don't even think about school anymore.
No.
Like that was, like, it's hard because, you know, I really want to be the voice for those young kids that, you know, get bullied in school and, well, their superpowers and stuff. And it's like, and then it's hard. I'm sitting here telling you now, like, once you leave school, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
What are you up to nowadays then? What are you up to?
So now I've started a CBD company with a friend of mine, and we have launched 2 products. So one's like a CBD arousal oil. It's called Jomo London. I'll send you some. It's very good.
Yes.
It's basically a CBD lube, which, so CBD encourages blood flow, which heightens sensation. So basically just makes your orgasm better. So yeah, I started that like a year ago, and that's sort of what I'm doing at the moment. Basically, we want to make you feel more confident in the bedroom. And I think when I suffered with hair loss, I was really like, if I was like dating a guy, I probably wouldn't tell them that I was wearing a wig. And so like when we'd go to bed, I'd keep it on, and like I was like, I don't know, it just made me feel insecure and self-conscious, not just the way I look, but also like sexually, I think. Okay. And so me and my business partner just thought, there's no reason, like, I don't think women, not that we're not vocal enough, but I think women are slightly different to men. And I think my mentality towards sex when I was younger was like, oh, once the guys sort of finish, that's it, over. And like women sort of forget about themselves. And so the whole thing was like, Jomo's like taking your time and like getting the most out of your sex life, whether you're a guy or a girl. Yeah. And it's also like trying to just change the sort of perception that I think sex is viewed in such a like, I don't know, it's not viewed in a positive way. We all have it, like, let's not beat around the bush. And it's the same with like masturbation, I suppose. It's like, it should be a positive thing, not like a negative, and also like getting the most out of your sex life. But I think also now it's harder because that's where girls, like, even guys, like, subjected to porn, and like, that is not the way sex goes. Like, for young people to watch all that, like, who was it, Billie Eilish saying she started watching porn age 13? Like, that's fucking nuts. Yeah,
that is, that's crazy.
Yeah. But I think also, and like, we started Jomo during lockdown, and there were so many people saying, oh, you know, I feel self-conscious, I put on weight because no one's been out and all this stuff, I don't want to have sex with my boyfriend, all this sort of stuff. And I just thought, like, it's just, that's quite sad. I think, like,
it is.
You know, everyone should feel confident in their bodies, whatever size, shape, whatever.
Absolutely. And like, obviously you just mentioned about with your alopecia, like, you kind of, like, when you were dating, were you like open with, like, back then obviously, were you open about it, or were you kind of just like, you know, you wore your wig and you didn't really mention it?
I didn't really talk to people, but I didn't really say anything to guys. I'd sort of just like either let them assume or just guess. Yeah. I had one really rogue night once. God, I was full of rogue nights. I was seeing a guy, and always seeing a guy. Anyway, we'd gone home back to my house. In the middle of the night, I suddenly realised I was sweating with this wig on, so I was like, oh, fuck it, I'll not notice. Took it off and threw it on the floor. Anyway, the next day, it was quite dark in the room. The next day, he was like, oh my God, I'm deathly allergic to cats. And I thought, what a fucking weird thing to say, I don't have a cat. And he pointed at my wig, and I thought, oh, for fuck's sake. So instead of telling him, I went to the corner and picked it up like it was a cat and stroked it out of the room and put it in a cupboard because I was so mortified. I was like, I can't tell him it was a wig. Anyway, yeah, some bizarre stories of my hair pieces. But, you know, I didn't really say anything to anyone.
And also, I've got a question to ask you. So I know what, like, your superpower is, but what would you say your superpower is?
What my superpower is?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Like, I would say yours is probably bravery.
Do you think?
Yeah.
I was about to say giving 0 fucks. If it was a superpower. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. I don't feel like that, though. It's really sweet. When I did speak about it, everyone was saying, oh, like, well done and all this stuff, but it didn't feel like that. It felt like just like, I don't know, talking about something. I think also when I spoke about it on the show, that I was talking to like 3 people about it, so I didn't realise people were like, you forget that people then tune in to watch it. Yeah. But I mean, thank you.
That's all right.
Calling me brave. I need to do more with it though. I want to help more people. I just want people to be more confident. I hate hearing stories of like teenage girls crying and like really caring about this stuff and like getting bullied. It really like fucks me off.
But like, you can do that. Like, you've got the platform for it, and
yeah, I need to.
You can do that, Liv. Like, also, there's no pressure of you. Like, you know, having to do it straight, that kind of thing, like do it when you're ready to, kind of thing. And, you know, like that scene in Made in Chelsea, yeah, you only spoke to 3 people, but that probably spoke to 1,000 more.
Yeah.
The people that were watching it. And
that's true.
I have to remember that there's a whole other like audience out there, and you probably inspired like thousands from that one little moment.
Basically, anyone who suffers with hair loss or anything, tell everyone else to fuck themselves. I shouldn't really say that. That is such my attitude now I realise. I remember saying to my mum once, oh, what's the one thing you enjoyed about getting older? And she was like, honestly, I just don't care anymore. As in, like, you don't sweat the small stuff. And I think when you're younger, you do. You overthink everything. And it's like the end of the world if something goes wrong or whatever. Whereas I'm now much more my mentality. She's like, oh, you know.
Yeah.
Just no one died. Just get on with it.
Yeah. That's true.
Like, there's such bigger shit out there going on to stress about that. Just don't sweat the small stuff.
Thank you so much, and thank you for everyone watching and listening. Please like and subscribe, and yeah, thank you so much.